Jim Alcoholic. Jim. Do me a favor, guys. It's Janine's birthday. One of the great sober ladies of the Conejo Valley. Let's go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Janine. Happy birthday to you. Boom, 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 boom. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. Hey, I am so grateful to be here. When you're the secretary of this meeting, and when you finish, you got to come and talk before the next secretary takes over. And I get a chance to do this, and I love doing this. I love looking at you guys. I mean, I had a dream the other night, you guys. And there were a bunch of glowing beings. Heather was one of the glowing beings. Gail was one of the glowing beings. Levine was one of the glowing beings. There were a lot of glowing beings. Pete D was one of the glowing beings. Donovan certainly was glowing like a firecracker. And the glowing beings were taking these newcomers through the steps. And I think the newcomers were drawn to them by this sort of patina of this glowing thing. And they took them through the steps, and they got them through the steps. And by the time they finished their work, and they're in 9, 10, 11 area, they had found themselves at a sweat lodge, a kind of a wonderful, a red road sweat lodge. And they took the newcomer into the sweat lodge, and there were little pieces of rock, glowing embers of rock. And the newcomer was given an ember of rock, and he was put in their pocket. And they went away. And then slowly that ember started to grow. And then they went out and found other people to bring through this process and take to this wonderful Alcoholics Anonymous sweat lodge. And they got their little ember of glowing rock, which filled them with something quite extraordinary. I mean, that's the way I feel about this program. I feel that when I wandered into this place back in 1984, I was blessed on a level that was sort of preposterous. I mean, I love this place, and the people that are here, people like Daryl, who I haven't seen for a long time. Heather's sitting right here, so I'm going to talk about her and her paramour, Brandon, and the extraordinary people that are in this room, and the extraordinary people that are in Alcoholics Anonymous. Me and my brothers went on a trip to Dr. Bob's house in Akron, Ohio this last year. The four of us, old codgers, wandering around, living and feeling this extraordinary power, this extraordinary gentle insinuation of a way to live, of a way to relax and live on this planet. It was fantastic. I am so grateful to be here because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to live without you guys. I don't know how to live without these ideas. Anyway, that was my fantasy of the dream. I'm just a good old-fashioned drunk. I was a kid. I was raised in a wonderful household out here in the Santa Monica Canyon. I recently been reading about this fire that burned the Palisades down, and that was where I grew up. That was my home. That was my hood, if you will. And it's all gone now. I mean, we went the other day, I went driving through there, and I was thinking, in relation to what we talk about around here, I was driving through the Palisades, and it looked like Hiroshima. It looked like Nagasaki after the war, after the bomb. And I realized, that's what these guys have been telling me all these years, that the past is gone. The past is gone. All that stuff that I carry around, and in a minute I'm going to talk about it a little bit because it's like part of my story, is gone. There's nothing there. It's completely gone. Change happens. But what you guys have been teaching me is to be here, to be present now, to be filled with this energy now. And when I see you, when I see a Ross, or I see any of the guys around here who are doing this work, I get filled with that. I get filled with that energy. I get a chance to give it back. I mean, life is crazy, guys. I mean, you all know me. A lot of you know me. I'm a fruitcake, a total fruitcake. I get angry and I get frustrated and I get aggressively assaultive about politics and nobody cares what I think about this stuff. What I think about it has no effect on anything on the planet, but I do that, and I know it hurts, and I know it's not good for me to do it, but I feel like shit when I do it. But that's who I am. So Lisa says something to me, the wrong kind of thing, it's like, God damn it. You have no right to speak to me that way. I mean, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. But you guys have taught me to pull in the reins. You guys have taught me to reset. You guys have taught me to ask God to take it away. And this God idea was preposterous. The idea that there was another energy that I had access to was silly. I'm a smart dude, you guys. I grew up at the end of the 20th century, the early 21st century. People are on the moon. We got a thing on Mars that drives around and takes, Kodak pictures and sends them back to Earth. You're talking about God? What is that? What is this? It's crazy. It's Salem witch trials? What are you doing? But I got in here with you guys, and I was desperate, and I got in here with you guys, 24 years ago. And my step guide told me, you got to get on your knees and talk to God. And I said, what are you talking about? Talk to who? There's nothing there, pal. There's nothing there. He said, well, you know what? Look where you are in your life. Do it anyway. And so I did. I was desperate. I was losing my kids. I was losing my bride, Celicia, who I'd been married to for a long, long time. I was losing my work. I was losing my heart. I was losing my soul. And so I did it. I got on my knees and I talked to the air. And I said to the air, I said, I'm totally helpless here. Please help me get my family back. Please help me get the respect of the people around me back. Please help me feel relaxed and gentle in this world. Please help me not be afraid all the time and angry all the time and confused all the time. And as I did that, and I did the work in the program that laid it before me, I really felt the world change. I really felt the nature of the universe change. The smell of the air changed. The weight of the air changed. Something happened. Anyway, I'm a confused man, so bear with me. Raised Rustic Canyon, Santa Monica Canyon, beautiful home. A father who was a very successful movie star. He was an actor, a wonderful actor, a gifted artist. My mother was a saint-like woman who'd had her ass kicked as a child and had married my father, and she was a beautiful girl, class, dignity, courage. If anybody got messed with her three sons, she would have knocked them on their ass. She was a powerful, committed woman. And I was raised in an almost idyllic situation, and I didn't like it one bit. It was just bullshit. I didn't like it one bit. So I grew up very uncomfortable. I'll tell you about my dad, though. My dad was a tough guy. He was an ex-Marine. He'd been in World War II. See, I never thought about this kind of thing when I was growing up. It was always about, oh, Jesus, why is he talking to me so roughly? He'd been through World War II. He'd grown up in the Depression. He was a hardened human creature. I didn't know any of that. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to be treated gently so I could lay down and go to sleep. The old man would here's what he would do, and this is a fact. The kids know about this. I used to remember when I was married and I was living in Reseda with the kids, and my dad would come to visit. When he was on his way over, I was so excited. I was going to see my dad. I couldn't wait to see my dad. And we opened the door, and there was my dad. Hi, Dad. 5 minutes later, we were screaming at each other, arguing about some inane, crazy shit, politics, sports, whatever, astronauts, where they were going. But we were viciously arguing. And that started when I was a little kid, 9, 10 years old. The old man and I had arguments. And everybody just got out of the way. I'd sit in the living room and I'd sit with my dad, and we'd go at it. And they were sort of intellectual exercises. They were, do you understand what Chaucer was writing about, you asshole? But I'd make up some shit, and I'd come right back, yes, I do. But the thing was, and I always felt very good about that. I was saying, you're a badass. You can fight you can handle your old man, no problem. But what had really happened is I'd been pretty well wounded inside by this. Because we would say things to each other that were very personal, very hurtful, to win the argument, And so that did something to little Jimmy. And so as I grew up, I was insecure. I was afraid. We all have the same story. We all feel less than. We all feel like we don't belong. We all feel like we're not good enough for the other guys in our group. I'm not strong enough to be. I'm not strong enough to be this. I'm not smart enough to be that. I'm on the football team, but I'm not on the varsity. I'm on the JV. Blah 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 blah. It goes on and on. Always insecure. Never seeing the positive. Never seeing the thing. The fact that I lived in paradise, surrounded by art and music and literature and loving people. And there really was no bombs going off or anything around where I lived. There was no gunfire. I lived in a very, very nice world, but I didn't see it that way. So the time came when I was 12 years old. I came home from junior high school. I'd gone from elementary school to junior high school. In elementary school, I was a big boy, but I pushed people around, and I was cool, and I thought I was the coolest thing that ever happened. I went to junior high school, and I was a huge school, and nobody knew who the hell I was, and I was shattered. Simple, pathetic, shallow humanity. And I came home, and I went in my parents' liquor cabinet and took a bottle of Dubonnet wine out. This is the wine you cook shit with. It's got a metal cap on it. I never had a drink before in my life, you guys. Everybody drank in my house, and this was the 1950s, and the beginning of the 1960s in the world. Everybody drank in my house. Every evening was cocktail hour, and it went on until everybody went to bed. And there was a lot of angry, screaming and yelling, and a lot of drinking. And drinking was what you did. I never thought about it, had no interest in it. Walked in there, grabbed a bottle of wine, went out in the woods near my house in Rustic Canyon, and took a sip of this wine. And the entire universe changed. Crazy. Just one sip. And my body went, ah. I always say I felt like I was in a Walt Disney movie. Like I was in Bambi or some shit in the forest, you know. But something in my brain went off. Switch went off. Said, this is it, pal. Don't forget this shit. This is it. And I started from that day forth trying my best to try to get drunk as often as I could. I was a kid. I was an 8th grader, 7th grader in junior high school. And I started every weekend, if I had a chance, to go somewhere and get a bottle of beer or get a bottle of wine or some shit and drink, smoke cigarettes. And I never was clear on what it was all about. You know, I know that when I got my cigarettes, when I found the cigarettes in the car, which was around the same time, a little bit before that probably, and I found the cigarettes. I don't mean to offend anybody here, and this is a little bit funky here, what I'm going to say. I was sexually aroused. I was sexually aroused by these cigarettes, kids. So I don't know what the hell was going on, but there was some kind of a deal going on that you don't want to write to your grandma about, right? And then I started smoking, and it didn't really lead to anything like that. So I was like a false guidance, false thing. Smoking, drinking, hanging out. And, again, I wanted to fall in love. I needed to fall in love. And I was always looking at all the girls in Southern California were so fucking beautiful. Every single one of them was beautiful. And I was funny. I cracked jokes, and I was sarcastic, and I did all this shit. But I just wanted to have one of them say, "You're good enough for me, pal." And it didn't work out too well. Anyway, all that was going on. I'm drinking, and I don't realize that the drinking's kind of getting in the way of the other thing. You know, I drank my ass off all the way through school. I fell in love finally. Went to school, chased the girl that I was in love with to New York to go to acting school, and I was still drinking every day, and I was in love with this girl. And we went through our first year in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I never wanted to be an actor in my life. My dad was an actor, and it was very embarrassing to me. Embarrassing. The people would come up, "Mr. Whitmore, are these your boys?" Oh, fuck. It was awful. But now I'm going to be an actor because I'm in love with this kid. We spent a year in New York together. We came back to California, and I called the lady on the phone, and she wouldn't take my phone call. You know? She wouldn't take my phone call. She was the air I breathed. She was the blood in my veins. And she wouldn't take the phone call. It was over. I couldn't comprehend that reality. It's taken me probably many, many years to actually get to it now. But it was over. And my heart was broken. And something changed. Something changed. I drank harder. I kept drinking. By that time, I was hanging out with guys and smoking a little weed. I was taking bifetamine pills, you know, the diet pills, so I could stay up later and drink and play saxophone and shit with these guys down in Venice where I was hanging out. But I was pretty well lost. But I had been damaged. I had been really damaged by this abandonment. Soon after that, my parents got divorced. Another abandonment. I was an upset guy. It's going to be interesting because I'm not sure where this is going. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I was really hurting. I ended up traveling around. I got involved in some smuggling down in Mexico. Had an interesting time, 3 or 4 months down in Manzanillo, Mexico, with a suitcase, with a closet filled with Michoacan marijuana in bags. It was ready to come up. We needed to get a plane to fly down there and take it up for us. We couldn't get a plane to do that. hung out down at the Peligrosa district, which is kind of a mad whorehouse environment, which was just perfect for guys of our character. Had that trip, then I came home from this trip, and I was a little strung out on the Percodan by this time. So it was Percodan and drinking. And I remember laying in bed in Mazatlan in a motel, getting ready. I was going to fly back. I had money to fly back to California. I'm laying in the motel room in Mazatlan, and the guys outside were singing something, Solito Lindo or some crazy Mexican ballad. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I can't go home. I have been taking these Percodan now for 3 months every day. But I didn't have the nerve to take them with me and take them home. I didn't want to get busted. So I was still trying to be a decent guy, even though I was a dope fiend and an alcoholic and a smuggler. Shit. Anyway, went home, got involved in that. Next thing I know, I got a letter from a buddy of mine who was a Trinidadian. And he says, listen, I'm doing a play down in Trinidad. You want to come be in it? I said, you bet your ass I do. Because I figured that if they had good dope in Mexico, farther south you went, the better dope you'd get down there. Went down there to do this play. Around the same time, my parents got divorced. So now I'm on Trinidad, and they don't have any dope. I'm now ensconced with a bunch of very devout Muslim people. I asked them for methamphetamine, and they don't know what I'm talking about. So then I came back home, and I ended up meeting a beautiful woman down there. And I fell in love. I fell in love with this beautiful woman. And we got married. She had a couple of kids. I figured that the joke is, I'm going to run out of time and I've lost it, huh? Am I? I fell in love with this woman who had the kids, and I thought this thought for the first time in my life. What if I did something for somebody else for a change? What if I helped somebody else just for a minute? What if I thought about somebody else just for a minute? What would that be like? I got married to Celicia. We brought the kids up. We had other kids, and some of them were sitting right here. One of them sitting right there. And we had a family. And now we're kind of a crypto Muslim family living in L.A. First the job I got was cleaning. Well, we lost a baby. I should mention that in the beginning of all that, Celicia got pregnant, and she had a little boy, and he died 4 months old in Trinidad from a thing called intraception. I'm 23 years old. I wasn't too hip to that kind of shit. I didn't understand what was going on. It was quite extraordinary. This little baby died, And two things about that I remember. That there was an Indian woman named Black Mommy. And Black Mommy said to me one morning, we were sitting there around the wake time, the wake with the baby, where the baby was sitting in the coffin in state. And she said, how many babies have you lost? How many kids have you lost, man? I said, what? This is the first. She said, well, you're becoming a man. And I thought at the time, what a crude and unpleasant thing to say. But she was right. And the next thing was, when I touched that child's face, this baby was an exquisite little baby. And when I played with that baby when he was alive, his skin was beautiful and smooth and gorgeous. And now he's in a coffin, and he's been dealt with by the people in the mortuary, and I touched his face, and it was like wax. And it just broke my heart. It broke my heart. Anyway, I came back to California, continued trying to live. Actually, we came to California for the first time because Celicia had never been here with me. And then we brought the kids up from down in Trinidad, and our son Jake was born, and we tried to make a life in California. And the first job I did was cleaning sewers for the flood control. Got a job cleaning sewers for the flood control. My mother had a buddy who worked for the county and hired in the county. I did that for a year. Then I got a job selling cigarettes out of the trunk of my car for American Tobacco. Great, you come walking, hey, you want to get a nice display of Lemon Twist 100s, pal? Fantastic blend. You guys said, no, I don't want that. I said, all right. And I mean, it was a crazy job, but it paid $10 more than the cleaning sewers job. And then I got a message from my dad. He said, listen, a buddy of mine, Ralph Waite, is starting a theater. And he wants to know if you want to work for him as a house manager. And maybe get a chance to act a little bit. Because I'd sort of given up on that. And I didn't know what to do because they were paying much. They were paying nothing. It was $50 a week or some shit. It was a vanity. This guy who worked on he was the father on the Waltons and had this starting a theater. I want to give some of the money back to his actor buddies. And so I was going to get no money. And I'm laying in bed with Celicia, and she said to me, if you don't do this, if you don't try this, and you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You got to prove to yourself what the hell's going on. So I did. I started going to work for Ralph, and I became an actor in Hollywood. And I was successful. But there was something wrong because I was drinking. See, in those days, I wasn't drinking. That's the interesting thing. This is fucking hard to do, this talk. You know, these talks are always different, you guys, so bear with me. I stopped drinking after the baby died. My brother-in-law said, why don't you, because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to drink. It was a bottle of beer in those days cost 55 cents. I don't know, it cost like $10 now or whatever the hell it is. So I stopped drinking. I drank only Christmas and New Year's. Only Christmas and New Year's for 2 years. July 4th, I was hearing Christmas carols. I mean, it was crazy. But I kind of cut it out for a couple of years. And then when I got going as an actor, I remember starting again. I was we were in San Clemente working at the Marine Corps base at Pendleton. We're making a pilot for a TV series, and we're all there. And I went out across the street there in San Clemente to the liquor store and bought a 6-pack of Colt 45, 16 ounces. Brought it back under the freeway where that little passway was, up to my room. The rest of the guys were down in the bar drinking, celebrating like normal human beings would. I came into my room and I opened that can of beer. I hadn't had anything to drink for a long time, but I knew what I was doing. When I opened that beer, I knew when I was unleashing the dragon. It was finished. It was over. I knew that instinctively, and I didn't really know it at all. But something in me knew that this was it. So I drank that beer. I popped it, and that fizz came up and hit me in my nose, and here we go. And then I started drinking, and I started taking dope, and I started taking pills. And then I'd go from drinking to taking pills, from drinking to taking pills. When I'd drink too much, it was lousy. I'd go to the doctor and say, I got a bad sinus headache, I got a backache, whatever it is, and they'd give me a bottle of pills. Then then I go to the doctor 2 or 3 weeks later, and they say, you can't have any more. Can't have any more. I say, oh, shit. So I go back and drink it for a while. I drink until the heat was off, and I'd come back and get the pills. Went back and forth and back and forth and back. And then there's the old story that a lot of you guys have already heard. I was going to stop one time. I needed to stop. I was taking these damn pills. I was driving my kids to school at Montclair Prep, and seeing Barry White in his limousine. He was dropping his kids off, and I was dropping my kids off, and I had to take the pills. I had to take the pills. I had a brand new bottle of pills. I don't know what Barry White was taking. He might probably taking some shit, too. But I'm driving back now, and I go by this mini mall they're building, and there's a big dumpster in the back, one of those big 6-yarders or whatever they're called, the tall ones. And I took the pills and said, bullshit. They were a brand new bottle of pills. Now, you got to understand, 100 pills. That's the mother load, dude. And you got that, you're safe, you feel comfortable for 2 or 3 days. Threw it in the dumpster, threw it in the empty dumpster, went home. Bang. I mean, I went home, and I was going through withdrawal before I got home in my head. My head was going crazy. The next day, I drove down, dropped the kids off at school. On the way back, you know what I did. I pulled over to get them out of the damn dumpster. I had made a misjudgment, a mistake. But now the dumpster was filled with rebar and busted old 2x4s and shit. It was filled to the brim. McDonald's bags with ketchup containers leaking all over the fucking place. Filled to the top. I climbed up, a grown man now, I'm 33 years old at the time. Went down in there and crawled around on the bottom of that thing looking for my pills. Grown man, weeping. Jesus Christ, what am I going to do, Holy Christ? It's crazy, completely crazy. But I didn't even think I had a problem with pills. I didn't think I had a problem. Soon after that, to make a long story short, I got to Celicia, my wife said, I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. I don't want them to watch you die. The reason she said that was I was hiding dope all over the house. She'd find pills on the floor, and I go, oh, my goodness, I don't know where that came from. How am I doing? Jake?
Yeah, you're doing great.
All right. I'm laying in bed, jonesing on these pills, and cough. I was also into cough syrup, hycomine syrup, anything that had dope in it. I needed to take it. And now I'm laying in bed, jonesing on this cough syrup. 4 o'clock in the morning, I get up out of the bed in Reseda, walk down the steps of my upstairs room, go out the back door, down the side where the garbage cans are, where I have my cough medicine hidden with the eggshells and the other shit. Pull that thing, I hit it, pow, I got that buzz, that warm buzz. And it felt good, got back up in the bed, laid in the bed. Now that week I was supposed to start directing a TV show. The guys were going to give me a job directing one of these big TV shows. In those days it was $1 million something in the budget. And I'm laying in bed thinking, man, you can't get through the night without this bullshit. And those guys are going to give you $1 million. What are you going to do? You're finished. Now, the important thing and the interesting thing for me about that always has been, I didn't think about my family, my kids and my wife, who I was lying to and cheating on and running around bullshitting all over the place and making very unhappy. Certainly, Celicia was heartbroken by my behavior. It didn't bother me too much. But losing some big shot in the show business's money, that hurt me a little bit. So now, the next morning, Celicia said, get out. I said, oh, shit. I called my old man. He had a wife whose kids, but 2 kids were heroin addicts. They knew a guy. The guy's name was Garrett O'Connor. He was a counselor, an alcoholic counselor. I went to see Garrett O'Connor. He said, listen, I talked to him for a long time about how fucked up my wife was and what an asshole she was. And he said, you know what I think? I think you're an alcoholic. Out of nowhere, he said that. But I immediately felt something happen. Something lightened. To have an explanation for the way I felt, because you guys, I felt this way all the time. I don't know, it's because I was abandoned there, or I was unhappy here, or my dad yelled at me here, or I wasn't good enough to be a varsity football player. I don't know what the hell it was, but I didn't feel that great. And he told me I was an alcoholic, and I went, holy shit, there's a reason for this. There's an explanation for this. I think I started getting sober. That week I went to a meeting in Malibu, this Malibu meeting, and a guy called Bob Lemke was talking, an old New York cop. And Lemke talked about his son raising a knife to him to kill him because of the way Bobby was beaten on this kid's mother. And Bobby told the story of trying to get sober. And I sat in this meeting filled with a lot of people I knew from the business, weeping, crying. I mean, something was happening, guys, because that's the thing I'm trying to get to here eventually, is that in these rooms there's a magic elixir. In these rooms there's energy and healing, and it's here. And if you walk in here, you can't help it. I mean, you can run out screaming, go, fuck those guys, but you're already infected. You're already infected with this energy. It's here, you guys. It is here. And it works. And I went through 15 years of not using drugs and I did some shitty stuff. What I did then was I shifted my addiction to drugs and alcohol to something else. And what it was very cruel to my wife again. Even crueler than the drugs and alcohol, probably. And then 15 years of that stuff, I had a heart attack, heart blockage. And I was scared, and I didn't know what to do. So I started back on the pills again. I eventually wanted to get sober, and I went to Vista Del Mar. I knew there was only one place that had ever made sense to me, and that was Alcoholics Anonymous. So I tried it one more time. I went to Vista Del Mar up here, detoxed off the medicine. I remember being in New York with Alia. She was going to school there. And I was taking the cough medicine in those days. And I went to see her at her apartment, and we rode together on the subway. We took the car back, and we went on the whatever that train bus was that took me out to the airport. And we're on that conveyance, whatever the fuck it was. I remember sitting with my daughter, who I love more than anything in the world, but I felt like I was completely disconnected from her and from the world. And I had my arm around her. I remember, this all could be bullshit. These kids are constantly telling me, Dad, it didn't happen that way, fuck you. But I remember sitting there with my arm around her and tears falling out of my eyes, tears falling down to the Formica floor in this transportation we were riding in. Bam, and I think Ollie was crying too. Sad time, dude. We're lost souls. People adrift in the freaking universe. And I know she was having a hell of a hard time. And now we realize that. Anyway, I decided I needed to get sober again. And I got some help. I went to Vista Del Mar. I got in touch with a guy who I'd met during the interim time, a guy, Jerry S., who we all know around here, a wonderful man, a mechanic, a wonderful sponsor. He's a guy who can really get under the hood and fix this shit. But like all good sponsors, he's very expensive. And whatever that means is up to you to decide. I got started again. I started again getting sober. How am I doing on time?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? And I'd say I'm going to do whatever I have to do to prove this shit is not going to work for me. I have to prove it. I have to know it. Because I do love these children. I do love these freaking children. I do, even though I act like an asshole half the time. I love this woman. We've been married 40 some odd years at that point. 38, whatever. But I love her. I don't want to do this, but I could not fucking help it. I was damaged. I came in here and I did the work you guys talked about. I surrendered completely. And the world changed, you guys. I'm telling you, I don't care how crazy you are, or how angry you are, or how self-righteous you are, if you're new or if you're old. If I commit to this, if I honestly commit and go for it, and have the capacity to be honest, like it says in the book, it works. Something changes inside you. And I started to change, and I started to feel different. And I felt something going on, and I was doing my work, and then I got involved with a bunch. We did this TEP group deal here. It started small and started to spread like a virus all over the community. And then my son Jake came to me and said, hey, I'm really hurting. I want to try this thing you're doing. Now the thing, and the addendum to that is when I was sober the first time, Jake didn't want anything to do with the program. He thought it was absolute bullshit, and he thought I was the great jackass of all time. But the second time, he saw it too. Something was changing because of this work. Because of this, the stuff in chapter 5, because of the idea, how it works, you guys, how it works. And it worked, it was working. Things were changing. The energy was changing in the house. The energy was changing within me. And Jake said, Dad, I need to get some help. And he showed up at Visions one Sunday morning and started this process. And he hooked up with Mikey back in the back row back there. Donovan, one of the great healers of all time. And Donovan took Jake under his wing and helped him get his shit together. And Jake started to be alive with energy and excitement. And we used to have these pop-ups in the backyard because of the rain and shit. And Jake would be out there with some of the guys, Kurt D and some of those guys. And they'd be arguing about the steps and talking about their higher power and talking about access to the God and to sobriety and to healing. And they were working with men. And it was exciting and it was wonderful. And it was working. And then his sister, amazing, beautiful girl, called up and said, I got problems. Can I get some help? And she started talking to Donovan and Jake when she came back here. I don't remember any of this. Don't hold it against me. They said, you're going to go meet a lady named Gail. And she went over and sat down next to a lady named Gail. And the world started changing for her. And now these people are extraordinary. They're healers. They're wonderful, healthy, strong, funny, creative. Jake just had a big art show down in L.A., and his art was spread out all around this beautiful building, and you just realize, what a man. Alia is working with people day in and day out, helping them find their way through really difficult situations. She's brilliantly gifted, and she's healing, and she cares. And I believe that a lot of it started here. It started here. I'm an old sick son of a bitch. I feel so good today talking to you guys. I got a crappy leg. My wife, Celicia, is not feeling well at all. She got some blood pressure problems. I got some diabetes problems. I got this and that. And for a while there, it was scarier than hell. It was scary. We've been married 54 years, guys. If I don't have Celicia, I got nothing. But I'll cuss her and be pissed off at her and tell her to get the fuck out of my face all day long. But I love her, and I need her, and she's part of my life. And she's getting better. She's healing. She's getting better. It's because we have a process here of letting go of the selfish shit, of the childish craziness, and doing that. We have this thing. When I was on my knees saying, please help me, that thing that I became aware of, that was there, that energy that was there, is always there, Chuck C., conscious contact with my higher power is the most important part of this program. And I know that's true. Barry Levine helped so many people back in the day on the movie sets where chaos was running rampant everywhere. And his buddy Don Morgan, Don would take that, he had like ducklings all around him, helping these guys stay sober so they could do the job. Brilliant things. And that's that burning ember of healing, that burning ember of truth that spreads within us if we keep doing this thing day in and day out, day in and day out. Go into the rooms. We go to the rooms and sit and watch the guys come in and watch them change and hear them share and be there every single day to hear the incremental changes that are going on every day as they try this thing, as they try to stay with this thing, as they try to have a chance. All right. Oh, I love you so much. It's working. It's working. This Alcoholics Anonymous, me and the guys travel around. We went over to Akron, Ohio. We went to a bunch of different meetings. Cleveland, Akron, all over Pittsburgh. And every meeting was different. Every meeting was something. But this energy was in those rooms. One meeting was 120 white guys. Another meeting was only African American people. But the energy was always the same. It was always the same exact thing. We're not going to go there anymore. We're not going back to that place. We don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be angry. We don't have to fight these bastards because we're taken care of. We're taken care of, man. Everything's going to be okay. Oh, shit, I love this stuff. You guys, it's so wonderful. Thanks for letting me share. I love you very much.